Sen Hatsumi versus Gaolang Wongsawat, probably the biggest debate within the Kengan fandom as of now. In this video, I will offer a conclusive and analytic argument on who would win in a fight out of Sen Hatsumi or Gaolang Wongsawat. Before I begin the video, guys, make sure you hit that subscribe button for more Kengan content. Now, to begin this video, let's look at both of these fighters and their individual abilities within Kengan. Let's first look at Sen Hatsumi. Sen uses the principles of Aikido when it comes to fighting, but Sen uses a variation of Aikido called Hatsumi style Aikido. The basis of Aikido is to use your opponent's strength against them. It is a hard counter to strikes. Sen Hatsumi is able to display this in a way in which he measures up his opponent's attacks and both throws or counters his opponent's attacks. Sen also has a high elevated level of speed where he is able to dodge very close strikes while being in close range. Furthermore, Sen has also got a level of foresight where he can clearly see opponents' moves before they are able to reach him. His key strength is his unpredictability. His self-taught original moves and his erratic behavior make him next to impossible to read in a battle. Now we come to Gaolang. Gaolang primarily uses boxing whilst fighting, but he is able to use high-level Muay Thai when he is on the back foot, especially when it comes to clinching. Gaolang's striking ability is on the highest level within Kengan. Gaolang can use strikes in all different ranges, but the most preferable range comes in the form of close combat range, as he is able to deal more damage in that situation and also land fast strikes. Gaolang also has very excellent reading of potential attacks coming his way. With his hitman stance, Gaolang is able to stand both offensively and defensively. Gaolang's speed in striking is what is able to keep him in the forefront of fights. Even though Gaolang doesn't have one-punch knockout power, he is able to culminate damage over time to his opponents to knock them out. Now let's look at how both Sen Hatsumi and Gaolang did within the Kengan Ashura Annihilation Tournament. Now for Sen Hatsumi, we could only focus on two fights that actually made a difference, which is the Bandao Yuhei fight and the Kano Agito fight. For Gaolang, we could only mainly focus on one fight, which is the Kano Agito fight, as both of these competitors' first rounds were fairly easy for them to dominate their opponent, and for that reason, there isn't much point to look at their first round matchups. Let's look at Gaolang's fight with Agito. In this fight, we had Gaolang showing his boxing prowess and how much of a high-level striker he is in this fight. Gaolang was able to show the Fanga Metsudo how his striking ability was far superior to Agito. But Agito in this fight took a risk that he could afford to take that risk, which was to focus on aspects of boxing and striking alone to win this fight, clearly playing into Gaolang's advantage. But Agito knew that even though him using pure boxing would put him at a disadvantage, he was able to figure out the rhythm and style of Gaolang's striking. Agito was able to implement a takedown which Gaolang was easily taken and dunked to the floor. Gaolang was able to get back up, but he was defeated with a knee to the skull. In this fight, Gaolang was able to put Agito on notice as his striking ability exceeded that of Agito, but Agito took that calculated risk into account and evolved and defeated Gaolang, showing holes in his game. As to predicting his striking rhythm and also engaging in a simple grapple that Gaolang did not have any defense to, scoring a takedown and ending the match. Now this was an excellent match between Kano Agito and Gaolang. Gaolang was able to put Kano Agito on the back foot just by purely using striking and boxing. But we know that Kano Agito took the risk of just focusing on boxing Gaolang. He didn't implement as much grappling as he had in his arsenal. So in this scenario, Gaolang's striking abilities are fantastic, but there are holes in his games when it comes to predictability and grappling. Now we go on to Sen Hatsumi. Sen versus Bando was a war of attrition. In this fight, Sen was in a situation where he relied primarily on his speed and tactics to outmaneuver the whips of Bando Yuhei that he was using with his arms. The whip attacks Bando used were incredibly fast. Sen was fully able to use his evasiveness to dodge all his attacks and not risk dying. In this bout, we see that Sen clearly looked at the openings in Bando's high-speed attacks to get close and land attacks of his own. Slowly, Sen figured out Bando's striking rhythm, formulating a plan to break Bando's arms and nullify his attack. He even stopped his high-speed punch in point-blank range. And then finally we had the ending of the fight where Sen used 100 meters throws. This fight shows us how good Sen Hatsumi is at reading the fight and also formulating an effective plan to both counter and defeat his opponent, who primarily focused on striking. His plan worked in quick succession and defeated Bando like clockwork. Now we come to Agito versus Sen. In this fight, Agito could not take any risks like he did with Gaolang, as Sen was both unpredictable and incredibly hard to counter. We see that in this fight, this battle was like a chess match, as both Sen and Agito were trying to look for both openings and counterattacks. Agito has the slight edge in this fight due to both height, reach, and weight. Agito had to be on the forefront of attacks, continuously attacking in different variations of strikes to try and stop Sen from formulating a plan and stop him from working out his striking rhythm. But Sen was able to evade and dodge some of Agito's attacks from landing fully. Even though he did take attacks on the brunt, he wasn't that phased. But the relentless attacks from Agito continued, to which Sen was able to pull off a hold that almost ended the fight with a star drop. Hatsumi Sen's strongest technique, which culminates all his Aikido abilities into one powerful move. However, Agito had a move in his arsenal that Sen had never seen nor had any way of predicting, blocking, or countering. And this was the Dragon Shot. Since Sen's arms were locked together and his body right around the fang, Sen virtually had no way of doing anything to avoid it. So this fight shows us that Sen was able to formulate a plan in high-speed continuous duress. Even though he lost to a move he had no way of predicting, avoiding, or countering, but nonetheless he was able to use tactics to almost defeat the Fang. Now we come to the conclusive decision on who would win the fight. Given the in-depth analysis of both fighters, it is clear that one of these fighters completely dominates the other, with sheer tactics and a higher reading of fight situations. The person who would dominate this fight, given all the evidence, is Hatsumi Sen. This is how a fight between Sen and Gaolang would weigh out. We know that Gaolang would implement his hitman stance straight away, and we know that Sen lets his opponents attack first to formulate a plan and to devise a tactic to which he can read the striking rhythm of Gaolang and implement an attack or opening to nullify Gaolang's striking. We see in the Bando fight that Sen was able to find an opening and snap Bando's arm, nullifying him. And with Gaolang, we see in the Agito fight that Gaolang left several openings for the Fang to initiate an attack or a grapple to nullify Gaolang. So this is a situation that can easily play out between Sen Hatsumi and Gaolang Wongsawat. Another situation that can more than likely happen is that within a close range fight, which favors Gaolang the most, Sen is able to evade, block, and even counter moves in point blank range, like he did against Agito, evading the kick at point blank range to go for a single leg, or when he was fighting Bando and Bando threw a high speed punch at point blank range to which Sen blocked. Sen could easily work out Gaolang's pattern of strikes and nullify them before even touching him, or he can clearly counter Gaolang's strike with zero risk, as we see that Agito slowly was able to read Gaolang's striking rhythm and stop him. Sen even has a higher level of reading high-speed attack patterns, as we saw in the Bandao fight. This means that Gaolang's striking ability would barely help him against Sen, as Sen would figure out his attack patterns fairly easily. Overall, given all the analysis and evidence of both Sen and Gaolang, it's clear to see that Sen would beat Gaolang, and that is conclusive. There isn't a situation in which Gaolang can dominate Sen, let alone put him on the back foot. Sen both dominates and defeats Gaolang.